So I'm going to be going over how to name ketones, carboxylic acids, and esters in this video. Ketones, do remember that it's going to have a C double bond O somewhere in the molecule, at least 2 carbons on either side. Now there are 2 different naming systems, and sometimes the common name looks easier, but we're going to use the IUPAC system, and I'm never going to ask you which one it is by chance. But because that double bond oxygen could be somewhere, we are going to be using numbers for this, and we're going to see that in our second example here. So for the naming, you're going to call it what its longest chain is going to be. So this is propane, and you're going to add a O-N-E at the end. So you drop the E and then add the O-N-E. That's going to be the naming system. So if you look at the name 2-butanone, that means 4, and you're going to have the double bond oxygen off of the second carbon. So again, you could draw it as a condensed formula, you could draw it all out, but because that carbon double bond oxygen is on that second carbon, I have to tell the reader where it's going to be. Now you could also put it here because you would start numbering on either the left or the right depending upon where that double bond oxygen is. That's just a personal preference. Realize that that's going to be fine either way. So let's draw another example here. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons in a row. And the functional group happens to be right smack dab in the middle. It's on the 3rd carbon, no matter if I start on the left or the right. So here's a bromo group and here's a chloro group. So if you have a tie, which one do you start with? Well, I start with the one that comes with alphabetically. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because of that bromo group, So it's going to be ending in pentanone, because again, it's 5 carbons. And then I have a 3 in front of it because that is where that functional group is going to be. And then bromo comes first. So I go 2 bromo, and then I do fluor-chloro. Okay. So again, naming system exactly the same. All you got to do is then pay attention to what that functional group is going to be. All right. Naming carboxylic acids. Carboxylic acids, remember, are going to be what we call an end group. It's a C double bond OOH, so you only have one other place where you could have a carbon because of the 3 bonds already taken care of. So you're going to have no numbers on this one because of that, because it's always going to be on the end. We are going to use the IUPAC system. Again, the common name, there are some ones that you will be familiar with, like acetic acid and things like that. But this one is far more easier to, not what I call memorize, but kind of understand. So we're going to change the alkane name E to oic, and then we're going to call it an acid. So the first one is methanoic acid. So it's going to be C double bond OOH and then a hydrogen on that. Another way you could draw this one is acetic acid, is the CH3 C double bond OOH. And then this one here, again, I'll draw it down here, CH3 CH2 C double bond OOH for a propanoic acid. Okay. So again, you call it however many you have, you drop the E, you put the OIC, and you call it an acid. Okay. So let me do another example down here. So again, with all functional groups, you're always going to start numbering wherever that functional group happens to be. So this is the number 1 carbon, no matter what. So I have a total of 5 carbons in a row, 5 carbons in a row. So 5 is pent. So this is going to end in pentanoic acid. Again, I don't need a number because the carboxylic acid is always on the end. So then I just have to see where my chloro and my fluoro happen to be, and chloro is going to come before fluoro. So this is a chloro group down there, if you can't read my handwriting. So this is 4 chloro, 3 fluoro, pentanoic acid. Okay, so that again is a naming system for carboxylic acids. All right, so the last one I'm going to talk about in this one is what we call esters. Okay, and this one is probably the most complicated out of all of the ones that we're going to see. So esters have a C double bond OO, and then you have carbons on either side. Okay, we are going to use the common name for this, and that is because I just find over the years that it works the best for what we need to accomplish. So the IUPAC system name, there's some interesting things that take place. So I'm going to draw this molecule down here just so I have another, some more room to do it in. So this is called Ethyl Ethanoate. Okay, so the key to this is it's going to end in O8. What they sometimes say is you're dropping ic from the name of the carboxylic acid name. You drop the ic, so you still have the O there, and then you put an 8 on the end. Again, however you remember it, it doesn't really matter. So here's the tricky part. Okay, so put a box around these carbons here, and then circle this. Okay. So this is your branch, and this is your longest chain. Okay, so the rule for esters is the longest chain is always going to be the C double bond O end of the molecule. And anything attached to the oxygen end is going to be the branch. So you are going to call the branch exactly what it is, which is methyl. You list that first, and then you say the longest chain, which happens to be 2 carbons, so that's going to be ethane, drop the E, you put the O in there, and 8, again using the carboxylic acid name or whatever you want to do. So that's going to be how you name an ester, okay? So if you look at this example, ethyl ethanoate, okay, again, this is the ethyl, okay? And then this part is the longest chain, is the ethanoate, okay? So that's always going to be the naming system that you use. So CH3CH, I'll put a bromine here to make it more interesting. C double bond O, then my O, and then I got CH2, 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 CH3 on the end. So rule is, again, this is your branch, no matter if it's a longer set of carbons. That's irrelevant, okay? So this is going to be your longest chain. So I would suggest you do put a box around this or number it. And do note that this numbering system does feel a little awkward. You do start in the middle, okay? So you do start with that ester group, and then you go out from there, okay? So 1, 2, 3 in the naming system. So whatever's attached to the oxygen here, okay, is always going to be the branch, even if it is longer. So this is a butyl group, okay, and this 3 down here is going to be a prop. So this is going to end in propanoate, okay, going to end in propanoate. And then I use the butyl here to say, here is my butyl group. And then I want to say where that bromo is. So I do a 2-bromo in front. Okay, so 2-bromo-butyl propanoate. 2-bromo-butyl propanate is the name there. So again, this is probably the most tricky out of all of them that we have for the functional groups. So again, this must always be the longest chain, and this must always be your branch.